Hey all, Heretic here, and today we're going to be talking about Battlegrounds duos. Now, I know I'm a day late, and I guess that makes me a little short, but hey, I can't help it. I had to take my son to a concert last night, then I had to sit there and wait for the thing to finish because it was too far to drive otherwise to, just come back. So because of that, this is late, and maybe no one's going to watch it, but I like to cover all the news regardless of whether or not it's timely. So let's jump into the duos. I'll at least give you my thoughts on some of these. Let's start with the heroes we're getting. Now, right off the bat, we're starting with Cho and Gall, whose hero power is very simple. When one of them triples, the other one gets it. So whenever you play a golden minion, both you and Gall get a triple reward. Same for Cho. So Cho and Gall do the same thing where they get a triple, they both get a reward. Now, it's not the same reward. It just says you both get a triple reward. So I'm assuming you both get a discover, which in the concept of duos where you can pass cards back and forth, really nasty. But if they both got the same one, that potentially would be even worse because then it'd be so easy to potentially line up triples for high tier cards that it wouldn't be feasible, I feel. But you only can do this 3 times. So obviously you don't want to blow all your triples early. On low tier stuff, if you can help it, you really want to go for, I would imagine, 4s and higher, like normal. But, at lower MMRs, people might take whatever they can get. And sometimes, triples happen and you can't really avoid them. But maybe now you're going to try to go that extra mile to avoid them. Yeah, we'll wait and see how it shakes out. Cho'Gall is fun. In Heroes of the Storm, it's a very interesting mechanic of where one person moves it and the other person controls the main damage. In this one, it's going to be basically you get triples when they get triples, which is a pretty cool effect. So I'm perfectly happy with this. This should be a fun hero to play. Next, we have Flabidinous Floop. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Who knows? Their hero power is Glorious Goop. It is 0 cost. Choose a friendly minion start of combat. Transform it into your teammate's highest tier minion. This is very powerful for a lot of reasons. Let's say you have a cycle. You've got a brand and you're just cycling battle cries. You've got a stupid card that is super low tier, but you just triggered it for the battle cry. You threw it down and now it's there. Now it's going to turn into a copy of your opponent's highest tier minion. That is pretty phenomenal. Now, is it a base version? Is it an exact version? Those are the questions I have to have answered. If it's the highest tier and it's an exact copy and you've buffed it to the moon, that's terrifying. If it's a base version, in some cards' cases, that won't matter at all. So it really depends what it is. And also, a lot of cards are currently in the game are leaving the game, so we don't even know what to expect from the coming cards and what that'll be like. Still seems like a cool power. I'm still interested in playing it. Next, we have Madame Goya, Efficient Exchange, 2 gold, pass a non-golden minion. So I have some questions about this card. If it's only 1 gold to pass a card back and forth, the value doesn't seem as much. But from what I understand, you can target the shop to pass a non-golden minion. So there's some potential there at least. I'm still not sure if this is worth taking, especially with the armor it's showing right now is 8. It seems like it is not good. But once again, this is in the vacuum of not having played any games. So maybe it's phenomenal and I'm just not understanding the inherent value of it. But at least when it comes to aspect of fun and sexy, it's not there. There's nothing exciting about this card. It's just there and I'm like not interested at all. But who knows? Maybe it'll be fun. Next, we have the Nameless one. The Nameless one's hero power is apparently something they're not going to tell you. It is a secret because, he's nameless. Or they're nameless. Who knows what they are? They're just a green turban with glowing purple eyes. I'm not screwing with them. Whatever they want. Passive, start of game, copy your teammate's hero power. I mean, not crazy powerful, unless that hero power is really good. But basically, you're getting complete synergy in so much that you were both going to have the same thought process in whatever you're playing the game because you're both going to have the same hero power. Do you have a really high tempo hero power? Well, guess what? So does your teammate. Do you have a really big value greed hero power? So does your teammate. Typically, I like a more synergistic one does one and one does the other, but I can certainly see the value of doubling down, especially if it's a really aggro hero power like a Yogg Saron, where you're like, oh yeah, we're both getting just tempo so we can tier faster. So there's certainly a lot of potential with this. It'll be fun to see how it plays out. All right, let's start with the tier 1 cards. Let's dive into them. Now, I'm going to talk about the normal card and not the gold card. It's already assumed they're pretty crazy, but I will have them both here for you to see. And if the gold card is instantly a problem or worth discussion, I will dive into it further. We have Passenger, tier 1, 2, 3. The first time your team passes each turn, gain +2/+2. I mean, that is a lot of early tempo. You can start swapping cards quick, depending how you get things going. Pretty cool card. For a tier 1, it seems like it's a really high stat line with that passing feature. Especially if you both get a copy of this thing, and depending on the hero power, sometimes you can pass and buy a card. So this could be disgusting, depending how you get it. Say you get the spell that gives you a tier 1 card, then you pass it to each other. I mean, there's lots of weird possible potential. I mean, maybe I'm overanalyzing it, but it looks pretty neat. Passenger, I like the idea of it. Trusty Pup is not a duos only card. This is for both modes, but it's listed here, so we'll go over it. The tier 1, 1/3, and I misread it in my initial announcement. Whenever this takes damage, gain +1 attack permanently. Well, it's a 1/3, takes a point of damage. It gains attack forever. So it's pretty cool. I mean, even if it dies, it's still going to have taken damage, so it's going to infinitely gain that attack. But with only 3 health, you're only going to keep it so long typically. It's still a neat card nonetheless for tier 1. It's not broken by any stretch. It's kind of what a tier 1 card should be. Next, we have the tier 2, 3, 4 Friendly Saloon Keeper. Battle cry, your teammate gets a gold coin. This feels like way too big a stat line for what it does. It's a tier 2, it's a 3, 4, and it gives economy to your ally instantly. I mean, this feels like it's way too big for what it's given us, but I mean, we'll have to play with it, but it seems like this card is going to be stat reduced at some point to me. Tier 2, 2/1 Quillbore, Generous Geomancer. Death Rattle, you and your teammate each get a blood gem. This isn't bad. The stat lines are good. You're going to be getting at least a base 1/1 buff to each of you. If you've both got it, you get to double those numbers. I mean, it's a damn good tier 2 card. It's just about what I expect a tier 2 card to be. Next, we have the tier 2, 4/3 neutral Wanderer Cho. 1 pass each turn is free. Not a bad card. It's got good stats to start, and you can pass for free. Obvious value there. I could definitely see value in this card at all points of the game if you get it randomly generated and whatnot. So this is a pretty cool card. I have no complaints. Next, we have the tier 2, 2/3 dragon, 1000th Paper Drake. Start of combat, give your leftmost dragon +1, +2, and Wind Fury. Now, this is in both duos and normal battlegrounds. This is going to be, I feel like, very impactful regardless of which dragons are in the game, because even late game, you can pick this up and throw this in your 7th slot, whatever it might be, and give Wind Fury to a giant dragon. Heaven forbid, you know, a cleave dragon of any form exists. We don't know what's coming out yet while I'm doing this video. Giving it multiple attacks is going to be even more disgusting. So 1000th Paper Drake, look for this to be a very impactful card, and probably not on tier 2 for long. Next, we've got a spell in tier 2, the Recruitment Program, 2 gold. Get a random minion of your teammate's most common type, then pass it. I mean, what? For 2 gold, I get to get a completely random minion. It's going to help my teammate, because it's based on whatever they have the most of, and then it instantly just gives it to them. A good investment. I'm floating on 2 gold. It's going to give you value. This is a no-brainer, folks. I love this one a lot. This is cool. Next, we have the tier 3, 2/2 Orchestra Conductor. Battlecry, give a minion +2/+2. Improve your team's future orchestra conductors. I'm assuming this is like a deep blue, and it's going to stack forever, whether or not it's a doubling of stats from going like a 2/2 to a 4/4 to a 6/6, or it's just like a 1/1 increase every time. We don't know yet. It'll be fun to see. We'll see how impactful it is. Next is tier 3, 2/2 Pirate Plunderer Pal. At the start of your turn, you and your teammate each gain 1 gold. I mean, I love pirates. Anybody who knows me, getting gold is great for me and my teammate. At tier 3 as a 2/2, I don't know if that 1 gold is that exciting. I feel like compared to some other cards, this is a very balanced card, while some of the others might be overtuned. So this might seem like it's weak now, but later it might fit better once some balancing happens. But for tier 3, 2/2 to give a 1 gold each player, I feel like it's decent value. Now we have the tier 3, 3/3 Murloc Puddle Prancer. After this is passed, gain +3/+3. Well, obviously you want to pass the Puddle Prancer back and forth as much as possible. It's a Murloc that gets bigger. As Murlocs stand now, making Murlocs bigger isn't really a problem in the later game. This might give you some early tempo if you could triple into it early, but I mean, as Murlocs stand now, this doesn't seem insane. but we'll see where it goes later. It could be a lot of fun. I mean, I like the artwork on it at the very least. Now we have the tier 3 4/3 dragon, Doting Drakthir. At the end of your turn, give your teammates minions +1 attack. I mean, it's a tier 3 4/3 stat line. It's not crazy. It's pretty good actually, where it should be. And then to give all your allies teammates +1 attack, that's pretty good. I mean, no complaints there. It's not a bad card. It certainly works. It's not exciting, but it's just a good card. Now we have a spell, the tier 3 2 gold Catch. Give your minions +3 attack. Upgrade by +3 attack after this is passed. Okay, so if you pass this back and forth a couple times, giving this, +6, +9 attack is gonna be pretty good. But the later in the game you pass this back and forth, the less impactful these attacks will be. So I feel like this is the kind of card it's good to pick up early, pass it once, and then play it. I think if you pass this back and forth like 4 or 5 times and then play it, you've spent so many resources, it won't matter as much. I mean, now there's going to be tricks. I'm sure we could pass it back and forth multiple times in one turn, and then there's shenanigans going on where you're like, hey, yeah, +12 attack to my team the turn I got it. Okay, obviously then, busted. Otherwise, if it's just +3 attack, +6 attack after a couple turns, it's not really going to be that impactful. But once again, caveat, let's wait and see how it works. Now we have the tier 3 2 gold Portal in a Bottle spell. Pass a non-golden minion. I mean, this is just going to be take something out of the shop, right? You just pass it to your teammate for 2 gold. Not a bad spell, good value. If it's something they need, bam, throw it over to your teammate. Sounds pretty good in theory. We'll see. Tier 4 stuff now. We're looking at the tier 4 6/4 elemental, good stat line. Feisty Freshwater, Death Rattle. You and your teammate gain 2 refreshes that cost 0. This is pretty good. Is it insane? No, but that's a good Death Rattle to just get 2 refreshes for 0. And it's got a decent stat line. If you just happen to get it, throw it on your board. So you triple into it on tier 3. That's good value. If you somehow triple this, 4 refreshes is pretty awesome. You're obviously gonna give this taunt immediately and just enjoy those refreshes. This certainly can have a place on boards, especially the earlier you get it. And later in the game, it's not going to be exciting, but early in the game, good value, good stats, and good economy. All right, bear with me while I try to pronounce this one. The tier 4 5/2 beast, Magnanimous. Oh, the name. Death Rattle, summon a copy of a minion from your teammate's warband. Set its health to 1, except Magnanimous. So you can't copy your teammate's Magnanimous with your Magnanimous Death Rattle, causing potentially a lot of infinite combos of Magnanimouses or mooses. Yeah, moose. Who knows? No, moose is already a. Oh damn it! It's already a plural. Who knows? Now we're having the whole Cala ghost, Cala geese, Cala. Oh no, let's not go there. This is not a bad card at all, especially if your ally is playing a Death Rattle build and you throw this on your board and you're copying a Death Rattle off their board. There's obviously some fun shenanigans going on here potentially. Now, if you're running a giant Murloc board and I get a 600 1 health Murloc, it's still good. It's just not as good as if it's a Death Rattle thing that summons out a bunch of stuff. Now, mind you, a bunch of cards are coming and going, so we'll see what those changes are, but it's still a good card. Now we have the tier 4 7/4 demon, Menari Messenger. Battlecry minions in your teammate's tavern have +2/+1 this game. Now, anytime you're buffing a shop is a good thing. Now you're buffing your teammate's shop, so the value instantly isn't going to be there for you, or if it ever is, it's going to be there for your teammate. It all depends how some of this play works back and forth. Can you afford to buy a card like this to buff your teammate's health while you're suffering? Because if your board's weak but their board's strong, it's not going to help you as you fade away and they start kicking ass. Because if you're too weak, it doesn't matter if your teammate's strong unless they're incredibly strong the way this is sounding like it's going to work. So it's definitely going to be a balance. That being said, 7/4 is not a bad stat line. And if you triple into this from tier 3, that's a big boost to your teammate when you're slamming this card down. If just say, hey, I've got a triple, don't play any cards and we're both at tier 3 and I do my play first and I draw this and play this and it instantly buffs my teammate's tavern. It's all about a timing. It's like, hey, you got to wait. Let me do my thing first, just in case. And your teammate, vice versa, has got to kind of do the same thing. And depending how you're communicating, that could be tough. That being said, I do like the concept of this card. I like the idea behind it, and I can see some potential. Next, we have the Tier 4 4/4 Mirror Monster All, so a everything card, be scared. When you buy or discover this, get an extra copy and pass it. So, I mean, if anything, it's just economy. If you happen to discover this especially, just get an extra copy and your teammate gets it. That's free gold. Is it great with its stat line? No, but it's a menagerie card. And as we all know, cards that can be part of every tribe, which means this will be in every game, can be powerful and broken in some tribe combinations. So we'll have to wait to see how Mirror Monster plays out with the new cards coming and going, but definitely be ready for some silly combinations because of this card. Next, we have the return of the still in all games, not just in duos, Tier 4 5/4 Dragon Prize Promo Drake. Start of combat, give your other dragons +3/+3. Now, it's a combat bonus, so it doesn't persist unless they bring back a card like Terragosa, but it's still a 3/3 bump. If you triple into it, it's good. If there's no way to retain those buffs permanently, this card isn't really worth putting on your board, typically beyond the very early game. Late game, it will mean absolutely nothing. Trash card. But if you're on Tier 3 and you triple into it, 3/3 to all your other dragons, if you're running 3 or 4 dragons or a whole board of dragons, is phenomenal, and you'll win fights because of that. So it's definitely an early mid-game card, to say the least. And if Terragosa comes back, it could be an all-game card. Now we have the Tier 4 5/5 Naga Storm Splitter. Once per turn after you pass a tavern spell, get a new copy of it. That is big. So I get a really good spell in the shop, I pass it to you, I get a copy, and you get a copy. That's a big deal. Now it's once per turn, but who cares? That value is obvious, and it's going to be big late game, especially if you still have this thing on your board. If you're running some type of board where you can afford to keep this on the board and you can pass big spells back and forth, that's a big deal. So this will be a good card, assuming some of the cards we know are back or the new ones aren't better. Now we have the Tier 4 2/7 Undead Grave Narrator. Avenge 3, your teammate gets a random minion of their most common type. Once again, this is a thing where you're buffing your teammate. Now the 2/7 stat line's not bad. It's not insane. It's undead, so it's usually relatively easy to buff the attack of all undead. So if it works like it does now, this will still be a very viable card, and I'm excited to see how this is going to work with it. But this card definitely can do some cool things for the game. If you're playing an undead board and you've got a ton of minions, it doesn't matter what your ally's playing, you're kicking out cards of their most common type. That's phenomenal. You're going to give them triples while you are just running a swarm board. This definitely will be a good card. Now we're on to Tier 5. The Tier 5 4/5 Mech Support System. At the end of your turn, give a minion in your teammate's warband Divine Shield. At the end of your turn, you give them Divine Shield. Now, mechs right now are not great. So would you want to have this on your board? No. But it's going to give Divine Shield to a mech. I kind of wish it had Divine Shield, since it's sitting at Tier 5 and it's a 4/5. If this had Divine Shield and gave one of my teammates minions a Divine Shield, I would love this. Since it's just a 4/5 without Divine Shield inherently built into it, I feel like this card is really weak at Tier 5. This feels like a Tier 4 card with that stat line and what it does, because it doesn't affect your combat dramatically, because it's your combat, but your teammate's combat, but the target's random. So it's not like it's even targeted where it says we'll go to your teammate's highest attack minion without Divine Shield or anything like that. It just goes to a random minion they have. You gain nothing other than a 4/5. It makes your teammate potentially strong because it's a random target and doesn't really help you. Makes this card, at least at Tier 5 for me, more of a liability, depending how the new mechs work. Next, we have the Tier 5 6/6 neutral Well-Wisher Spellcraft. Pass a different non-golden minion. Once again, you're going to target something in the shop, probably. You could move your own cards, obviously, back and forth too, because it doesn't cost you any gold, but the shop would be the easiest thing, I would think, if it's going to work the way I expect. So Well-Wisher has some real potential. Feels like a Tier 5 6/6. Feels pretty strong, actually, just because it's free and it's a spellcraft. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, but it seems really good. Now, there are no Tier 6 duo cards, which feels a little weird. Feels like there'd be something, but I guess then they'd be inclined to make something for all the tribes or a neutral that's already pretty strong, and Well-Wisher's already pretty good. Let's look at the tier 7 duos card. Now let's look at tier 7. There's not going to see a whole lot of use cases for tier 7, mostly the hero Thorum, but who knows what shenanigans we'll see later. Right now, tier 7 1/1 neutral Sandy. Start of combat, transfer into a copy of your teammate's highest health minion. Now, obviously, this is going to be an exact copy, I would imagine, not just like the stats of it. So that's pretty awesome. Whatever they're running, as long as your teammate's running a big stat board, is going to be really good. Obviously, if your teammate's running undead and it's a swarm board or a beast board, as we understand them now, not super powerful. But if your opponent's running a giant murloc board or a big mech board, elementals, you can make some nasty, nasty copies. This is just evil twin for your teammate. It's like, oh yeah, here you go. You get a copy of the thing I've put a lot of time into. So you can spend a lot of time buffing, like if you know your Thorum and you know you're getting this card, you could spend a lot of time buffing, sending cards over to your teammate to intentionally buff one minion. So then you, when you get your tier 7 minion, also get a copy of that tier 7 minion. If you know you have this and you're playing Thorum, you are definitely wanting to supercharge one of your teammates' minions, because if they just end up playing a line of minions that are all low, gonna kind of suck for you. Folks, that's it. That's all the cards we have. I'm sorry once again that it's late. Like I said, I was busy last night. There was no way I could do this, but now I at least have this here and I can throw this on the channel for those of you who want this content to see what I think of the cards. And I really would like to hear what you think about these cards. I love interacting with the audience. I look at every message and I really want to know what you think about these things. Do you think they're cool? Do you think they're silly? Do you think duos is dead on arrival, or do you think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below, please. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I love to hear from you. So please let me hear from you. I will catch you all in a little while, because I'm sure right now I'm sitting here staring at the clock waiting for today's releases. And then I will probably get that video before I get this video out. This is going to take a while to edit this. Thanks for watching all. I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned a few things. I'll catch you next time. Later.